the Spirit Sessions podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Silcox, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us, where I'll help you find your true spiritual home, where every single aspect of you is holy ground, holy ground, holy ground, holy ground.
This is a Spirit Session podcast with Katie Silcox. Venga chicos, empezamos.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hi everyone, Katie here. This podcast is intended to inspire you, educate you, and most importantly, support you on your journey towards knowing who you really are, that inner self, that inner teacher. I am not a psychologist or a medical doctor and do not offer professional health or medical advice on this podcast. If you are suffering from any kind of psychological or medical issue, please do the right thing and seek help from your qualified health professional. Hello everyone, it's your Ayurveda Gal Friday here with you, Katie Silcox. I've got morning voice. It's very early and I woke up just inspired to share this podcast with you all. First, I want to give everyone a little update. Thank you all so much for all your sweet emails and texts and Instagram messages about just wishing me and Ojas well, and we're doing really well. And we already have a rental house and are settling in. And so everything is slowly stabilizing. But I just want to thank all of you. And thank you, dear listener, for just allowing me a little bit of the space in the last episode to just share that with you guys. It just felt disingenuous to talk about anything else at this time. And as promised, I want to share something that I hope will be practical and of service to you, dear listener, today. And that is the precious things practice that I was taught by my beloved mentor, Crystal Mortensen. Shout out, Crystal. And I want to share it with you. But before we get deep into that, I just want to remind all of you that this is October and we are only 2 weeks away from our final October early bird pricing ending. If you have been thinking about joining our school and you've been listening for a while, just know it's so much more expensive to wait. It's like $500 or $600 more. So I want to encourage you to sign up for the early bird. And if you want to talk to a real woman about it, as you know, if you're our listener, you can speak to one of my amazing coaches who will tell you all about our school. Okay, and on to the more important thing, which is right now, and this practice that I want to share with you all. So I mentioned it a little bit in the last episode, but I want to dive deeper into it. So the Buddhists speak about this in Buddhist philosophy, because the only thing that is certain in our lives is death. And as Americans, we say death and taxes, because the only thing that is certain is death, and the only thing that is uncertain is when that will happen. What is the most important thing right now? And I've said that on the podcast more than once. I say it in Shakti school all the time, but I want to add to that as well, like the preciousness and sacredness and holiness and deep value of just 1 second, 1 minute, one glimpse of presence, of awareness, of being here in this moment now with what is here. And that is why we practice. That's why we learn. That's why we study. And I was speaking with my man. I was speaking with my man yesterday, who is a beautiful, beautiful Christian man. And, you know, as you all know, I've studied the Eastern philosophical and religious traditions for over 20 years. And I was telling him about the Yoga Sutras. And some of you have read the Yoga Sutras, or you have it, like many of us yoga teachers, you have it on your yoga bookshelf, right? But maybe you haven't read all of it. But you remember that line that you're taught to remember as a yoga teacher training person or trainee, and that is the Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. And that's like one of the most famous Yoga Sutras. And what that verse means is that yoga can be defined as the cessation of the birthing of the new thoughts. And what does that mean? It means that this experience of presence, of unity, of oneness, of being here now in this, and being able to open to all that is here, right, can be achieved through just stop thinking. Like, it's that simple, right? And that's what meditation teaches you to do. Like, shut the F up. And that like feels a little harsh, a little cruel, and like I'm saying it as a joke, but like sometimes we need these things like broken down for us in like a rudimentary way. And what Tantra says, Tantra comes along, and then we give like the tantric interpretation. And the birthing is a really important part of that sutra, because it's the birthing that is like the ultimate yoga. But if you're like me and everyone else, right, there's going to be thoughts, because it's like a dog is meant to bark and a human brain is meant to think. And so in Tantra, we're not trying to stop the thoughts, because that's what part of our mind does. We're trying to open to that which is beyond them, and open and embrace thoughts as a part of it. So Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, this experience can be felt when we experience that which is underneath thinking. And that is like so much easier said than done. So back to the story of what we were talking about, which was really interesting. So I'm telling my guy all about like the yogic philosophical approach, and he says, well, and I'm telling him like all this vast, complicated stuff in the Yoga Sutras and in the Buddhist philosophy. And he's like, well, can't you just surrender to God? And I started laughing, and I was like, yeah, actually, that's it. And even in the Yoga Sutras, there is a verse, Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yogaha. So like you can do all these techniques, you can do all the hatha yoga, you can do all the breath work, you can do all of the philosophical inquiry, but at the end of the day, you don't need all of that. You can just surrender to God. Ishvara Pranidhana. Just surrender. And one of my best friends, Mayor Hogan, says surrender or suffer. And so it's very easy to say just forgive, isn't it? It's very easy to say just surrender, but it's the things that we do to set the scene to be able to surrender, to be able to forgive, to be able to let go, that really, really prepare us in these big moments when surrender is like the only option. And I feel like that really hit home for me during the fire, and even more so now. As anyone out there that's gone through a natural disaster, there's like a certain amount of like sympathetic adrenaline that drives you in the beginning, and then you just tank, and then you're like super exhausted and you have to keep going. It's like a marathon. And that is where the deeper surrender lives, right? So I want to talk today about one of the practices that has prepared me. I'm continuing to utilize every single day to help me surrender way, way harder things than my couches, right? I was telling my mom and my friends, like when everything you own is gone in the material world, you actually, I think if you're somewhat awake, you realize how little they matter and how much time we actually invest in them. And I don't think of myself as like a particularly materialistic person, but we really, especially like in our 30s and 40s in our world, are like investing, trying to get like a nice house and furniture. And like maybe even in your 20s, you're doing that. And how much of our energy goes into this material world. And then when it's gone, you realize like nothing, as I said, of value has really been lost. And so I want to share this practice that Crystal gave to me weeks before I lost pretty much everything. And it's called the precious things. I want to share it with you so that you can practice it. And I think it helps prepare for losing things that actually are really hard to lose, like a partner or a job or a parent or a child. Yeah. So, what is the practice? So, think about all the precious things in your life. And I would recommend starting with the material world, because that's going to be probably for most people, unless you're a psychopath or a sociopath. Like, it's easier to lose a sofa than your best friend. And so you imagine, you don't have to do it while you're listening, but you can kind of do it while you're listening. And you go throughout your house and you think about all the precious things. Like, I was giving the example in Shakti school, literally 2 weeks before the fire, of like this little teacup that I had that my mom had given me that I shared with you all last week. And like, that teacup has a lot of meaning and energy there for it. Or I've imbued it, if you will, with meaning and energy. And you go throughout your house and imagine you have to give away something. What I'd like for you to choose is don't choose like easy things, like the things that you already have in a closet for goodwill. And if you're very attached to your material things, which some of you are, and that's okay. Like, I mean, let's be honest, Americans even have a show about being hoarders. Like, some people, and you might be a listener, and we love you, one of their things is like they hoard. And hoarding of material things is always about fear and safety and security. And so, for some of you that might have like more extreme attachment to material things as like a cope, you can imagine giving away the things that are in your garage. But for most people, I want you to pick something that would be like, you could do it, but it would kind of sting a little bit. So I will give you the example that I used in this practice. I have a necklace that my mom made for me and gifted me, and like, it's like a gold coin that my grandfather gave her. It's like, oh, that is a material thing that holds a lot of family meaning, and I like it, like fashion wise. Some of you see me wear it, I'm sure. And I imagine that because it's material, and like, if I lost it, I would feel a lot, but I wouldn't like go into a bad realm. So I want you to pick something that has like a lot of sting, but it's going to be something you could work with. And what you do is you imagine you sit and you're not actually going to give away anything. If you feel compelled to give something away after the practice, that's fine. But this practice is not about actually giving anything away. And what I also say about that, and this is very important, some of you out there give away everything all the time. You are my little Vata etheric people. Some people, it's a cope. Some of you are feeling seen right now. So like, some of you keep things forever. Some of you just give things away all the time. And you might be like a little squirrel. Like, you're like moving around your house super fast and you're just like throwing everything out. And that's a cope. And it's like, there's a certain level of pleasure in the busyness that's distracting. And there's a certain quality of pleasure in like the austerity and the cleanliness. So why I say we all shouldn't just be like, oh, Katie's saying it's good to give everything away, because that's actually not true at all. It's not about attachment, non-attachment, because all of this is in the mind, right? So if you just run and give everything away, but you have a lot of attachment in other things, like it's not getting to the core of it. So you imagine giving this personal object that you really love. It could be just something you really like, and it gives you a lot of coziness. It could be like a blanket or a couch, or for me, it was the necklace. And you visualize giving it away, and you feel the feeling of it being gone, and maybe you losing it or you handing it off to someone. And I want you to meditate on the feeling of the giving it away. And that's the first part of the practice. Really let yourself feel that. And you're going to feel all the feelings. And then you imagine yourself, after you've done that and really felt it, I want you to imagine giving away 10 of them, and then 100, and then hundreds, if not thousands. You're giving it away over and over and over and over. That simple practice is going to prepare us for giving away things that are harder. You can also, another way of doing this is if you're out on a hike or you're at the beach or you're in a shopping situation. Have you ever been hiking and you see like a stone you really love, or you're at the beach and you find a shell you really love, or you're out shopping and you see an object you really want to buy and maybe you can? Another way of working with this is you intentionally practice picking up the shell, feeling how much you want it, and then putting it back down and walking away. Same with shopping. So we're preparing through simple little things to be able to give away the bigger things. There's a word we use often in the tantric tradition that's called laya. And laya means to dissolve. And what we're practicing on this very material level of being able to do is dissolving all of our attachments, because eventually that is going to be what we have to do. That might sound depressing. We're talking about the dark side, right, of the goddess. And she is the goddess of destruction. She is the goddess that destroys our ego, not in the sense of annihilation or meanness, but in the sense of it dissolving into some kind of greater awareness. Death is not what we think it is. We have a lot of aversion to it. It's our biggest aversion quite often. There's a lot of fear around it. But when we do these small practices of letting go, these are miniature deaths. We're preparing to be able to feel when we die to this present moment. We actually can feel in that divine surrender initially how much discomfort there is. And the more we stay with that, it's been my experience that we run so far from what we are so scared of, but when we let it in and we open to the bigger realm around it, death isn't what we think it is. There's actually a lot of energy there. And I don't want to say too much about my experiences with that because I want you to have your own. But I hope this Precious Things practice is supportive for you. I know some of you out there really resonated with what's going on with me, not because you lost your house, but because you are going through your own fire and your own loss. And I just want you to know my heart's with you, and we love you. And we're sending you lots of love and prayers as you send it back to us. And I genuinely hope to see those of you that have not done our program in level 1, shoot us a line on Instagram, hit us up. We are info@theshaktischool.com. And I hope to see you in the classroom January 2026. Much love. A big special thanks to Kevin Carlisle of Goodbye Gemini, who wrote this beautiful podcast music, and to DJ Juan Pablo Jimenez in southern Spain for mixing it and making it magic.